Ladies and gentlemen, the Durham probe is almost certainly going to use the legal statute that I wrote about, and this is a legal statute that people have been indicted under. It's 18 U.S. Code 371. You can look it up, and it deals with two or more people who conspired to defraud the United States, to, quote, defraud the United States or any agency thereof in any manner or for any purpose. It's very broad. And it's the legal statute that they were trying to use against Trump, because there was no collusion statute. So this is not long ago they were trying to use this statute to indict Trump, because they said, well, there's no collusion statute, but Brookings, Bloomberg, a whole bunch of publications and think tanks said, here, there's an article from Brookings, considering collusion a primer on potential crimes. That's a Brookings Institution article. And it talks about U.S. Code, the core federal statute 18 U.S. Code 371 would be implicated if there was any agreement between members of the Trump campaign and Russian agents to do something that the law prohibited, that the law prohibits. So, Comey, Strzok, McCabe, Clapper, Brennan, Kleinsmith, all of these people, Sussman, attorneys almost certainly at his law firm, tech executives, all worked with one another to agree on to agree on behavior or specific actions or investigations that were started lawfully. I mean, it's not rocket science just because they don't have a contract in oath saying, Peter Strzok, Comey, McCabe, Clapper, and the attorneys paid by Clinton, and the tech executives who are clients of the attorneys paid by Clinton, and the tech company paid by the DNC, and all of these people linked to Democrats and the campaign of Trump's direct political rival. We hereby swear under oath that we worked to undermine our direct political rival in Trump by working with Mother Jones journalists and media to help spread information and then have government agents utilize that information from Washington Post, New York Times, or other articles to then set up this narrative that Trump was actually working with Putin, while at the same time investigating the narrative we helped set up. And we all knew from the start that it was complete nonsense. Signed, all the people who tried to set up Trump. Here you go, John Durham. You're never going to get that. You're never going to get that. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. Later this evening, if you have trouble sleeping, definitely don't watch my last segment of the night. It's at around 10, 11 p.m., and it's about the possibility for global thermonuclear annihilation. I mean, it's possible. It's growing exponentially in the chances of the end of the world are actually, I would say, if they were 2%, they're probably 4% chance, maybe less than 4%. But they're growing exponentially, and we'll talk about a possible U.S. economic depression as well. We're heading into a recession, so that's for sure. I predicted a stock market crash we're seeing in slow motion, and we'll unfortunately see the 2 to 4 to 5,000 point drops in the Dow, and that unfortunately will take place. I said there would be an escalation in terms of a nuclear confrontation. We've seen that with Russia. So a lot of the things that I've been saying have been taking place. I don't think that there's going to be the end of the world. I think that we'll get to a Cuban Missile Crisis type of moment. But anyway, hit subscribe to this channel. Be here tonight at around 10 p.m., 11 p.m. and the whole premise is, well, at least Trump isn't tweeting. So the people who are like, oh, Trump, he's a menace to democracy. Well, we had a great economy, great foreign policy, and the meltdown from media was in large part because all of this was fabricated. Now, Durham can use 18 U.S. Code 371. So here they go on the Brookings. For example, if in connection with the infamous June 2016 Trump Tower meeting, the Russians and Trump representative tacitly or explicitly agreed about the release or use of illegally obtained information that could credibly support a charge. They just described, so Brookings Institution just described what Comey, Strzok, McCabe, Clapper, Brennan, Kleinsmith, Michael Sussman, Danchenko, Christopher Steele, Fusion GPS, the Clinton campaign. They just described here. For example, if in connection with the infamous June 2016 Trump Tower meeting, the Russians and Trump representative tacitly or explicitly agreed about the release of or use of illegally obtained information that could credibly support a charge. In fact, there was already enough evidence of this potential collusion crime to warrant a searching review of those events here. So there is no evidence. They made up everything. The Steele dossier was fabricated, and as I wrote in the Federalist, Comey and McCabe should be charged for conspiring to defraud Americans. So that was April 12, 2019. Look, they all knew what they were doing. And the Brookings Institution and everyone, like there's a Bloomberg article that talks about forget collusion, people conspiring is what Mueller is trying to find. So this is how you dupe and deceive very smart people in an entire establishment. Okay, you don't have to look very far. You can look at that company Theranos and Elizabeth Holmes. Okay, you can look at Enron. You could look at, there's endless examples, WMD. But this is how you dupe an entire media, a public relations apparatus. You have the majority of media, journalists, editors, they're all liberal Democrats, lifelong liberal Democrats. Journalism now has turned into advocacy. It's not like the days of Ted Koppel, Peter Jennings, David Brinkley, Sam Donaldson. Those days are over, okay? Even Wolf Blitzer back in the day didn't care who won. You could look at CNN coverage in 2000 between Gore and Bush. They didn't care who won. Now you have an entire apparatus that they want one side to win. So people don't, trust is at an all-time low in America for media because everyone knows media wants one side to win. Even Democrats who want one side to win, want their own political party to win, know that media also wants their own political party to win, or they've deceived themselves into thinking, well, that's just reality. And it just happens to be reality has a liberal bias. Well, look at the liberal bias now. Oil at over $130 per barrel. Gas prices, $4 to $5 a gallon. Russia elevating its nuclear readiness. Ukraine being invaded under Biden's tenure. Crimea taken under President Obama's tenure. Literally everything's worse. Like the adults are in charge and Trump, the menace to democracy. How on earth is mashed potato brains Biden saving democracy? So what Comey and Strzok and McCabe and Clapper and Brennan did, and what all of these people did, is they gave assessments. Very simple. We believe, just like WMD, just like the Gulf of Tonkin, but with Facebook ads. Well, we believe that Facebook ads, and we believe the DNC was hacked to inform the country that Bernie Sanders was cheated. So it all points back to what they've done is they've somehow managed to, instead of focusing on the DNC cheating Bernie Sanders, well, it was the Russians that wanted you to know that the DNC was cheating Bernie Sanders. Don't you understand? How stupid can you be? And so that's their mentality. Everything that points to them, they find some way to point to Trump or to Russia. And so they deceived, or there were people who were willing in media to deceive the public. Either way, an entire American political establishment was duped, or they were in on it, because people they trusted, so if John Radcliffe or people within Trump's intel agencies, they don't trust any expert or authority or government official or intel official that works for Trump. But President Obama's intelligence officials, the intel officials they trust, because they are the ones with true intelligence, the ones who spied on Dianne Feinstein's Senate panel and got away with perjury, Clapper and Brennan. But anyway, they came out with a assessment. Not any guarantees, no direct evidence, no nothing. Clapper even was very honest. He said, we don't have any evidence that Trump worked with Russia. They had a hunch. They had a feeling. That was more than enough for millions upon millions of scorned liberal Democrats who were in disbelief that they lost to Trump. They couldn't possibly look in the mirror and say, we were horrible. So they said Russia did it. And all of these people worked. Now, there are text messages, we'll stop Trump. There are documents, the Central Intelligence Agency memo that Comey looked at and then still initiated the investigation, knowing it was all Clinton and the DNC that started everything. There's all this endless trove of information pointing to a whole bunch of people conspiring to form a narrative and then initiating investigations based on nonsense, based on suspicion. But if you wanted to investigate based on suspicion, government agents could read Clinton Cash or any book on Hunter and then investigate them based on the suspicion. That's not the way government investigations work, especially for incoming presidential candidates. You can always, from here on out, investigate an incoming candidate and say, well, that candidate's foreign policy benefits country X, so country X has now installed this candidate. It's completely mindless propaganda, but they say that Trump supporters or Trump voters are low information. That's not true. The lowest information, the easily duped, the most gullible are the very highly intelligent, morally superior, wonderful liberal Democrats. They'll believe anything as long as CNN and the Washington Post and people like Clapper and Brennan tell them something. If the New York Post, John Radcliffe, or Fox News tell them something, they won't like it. So this whole thing has been a contrived, fabricated racket. But if I believe that he will eventually use the statute that I talked about in the Federalist when I wrote Comey and McCabe should be charged with a conspiracy to defraud Americans. Now, if Comey and McCabe turn on the Democrats or media or the Clinton campaign, that would likely get them out of any legal jeopardy or indictment. However Durham wants to play this is up to him. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe right now. Be here tonight for the nuclear annihilation, U.S. economic depression possibility upload. Give me your thoughts.